Calling into session the Moore County Board of Education. Is there a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the purposes as stated on the agenda? Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We're going into closed session. calling the Board of Education back into session. Do I have a motion to secure from closed session and go into open session?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So we're back in open session. At this point in time, let me call up Principal Jared Cassidy for introductions on the pledge and the like. Yes. Just one more.
Yes.
Okay, all right, yes, Principal Cassidy, yes.
Good afternoon, Board. I'm Jared Cassidy, Principal at Cameron Elementary, and I have the pleasure of introducing two of our fine fifth graders at Cameron Elementary. Mr. Christopher Barrett will be leading us in the pledge tonight, and Miss Tegan Andrade will be presenting our inspirational message tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Very good.
Hi, my name is Tegan Andrade, and I am a fifth grader at Cameron Elementary. I was asked to speak on what inspires me. A lot of things inspire me. Some of these things are sports, family, and friends. They inspire me to be kind, respectful, courageous, and stand out. Sports inspire me to help me out, and show respect. What inspires me to run for things like student council and to be courageous is probably my family. My friends inspire and help me to stand out, listen, and help others. All these things inspire me, and are just a few of them. Others include school, dance, and the ocean. Thank you for listening.
And thank you very, very much. At this point in time, let us all share a moment of silence. I'm going to want to take care of the moment of silence myself because I wanted to especially make a tribute to a person who we lost, who is the chairman emeritus of Santos Community College and a really great Moore County citizen, George Little. In our moment of silence, we on the Board of Education recognize his many accomplishments and how sorry we are about his passing. So at this point, a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Oh yes. At this point in time, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Okay, is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay. Okay, so at this point in time, let me call up Mr. Charles Batchelor for our recognitions.
Thank you, Chair Levy. If we could have the students that did our pledge and inspiration come up to the front and join Vice Chair Davis and Board Member Benway. We have a couple certificates up here for you that we would like to present. All right, Diana and Gail from Cameron Elementary School, please join Vice Chair Davis and Board Member Benway at the front. Diana Miller is this month's Engage Inspires to Succeed Certified Staff Honoree for Cameron Elementary School. Mrs. Miller is an outstanding kindergarten teacher as her passion for education and innovative lesson plans inspire a love of learning in her students. She creates a warm, inclusive environment where every child feels valued and supported. Mrs. Miller goes above and beyond to connect with families, ensuring each student's needs are met. Her dedication enhances student achievement and strengthens our school community. We recognize Mrs. Miller's exceptional contributions and unwavering commitment to nurturing young minds. Gail Matthews is this month's Engage, Inspire, Succeed support staff honoree for Cameron Elementary School. Mrs. Matthews has been an invaluable asset to the first grade team at Cameron Elementary. Her dedication to creating a nurturing and engaging learning environment has significantly impacted our students' growth. Mrs. Matthews consistently goes above and beyond to provide personalized support, ensuring each child feels included and empowered. Her creativity shines through in innovative activities that make learning enjoyable. We proudly recognize Mrs. Matthews for her outstanding contributions and unwavering commitment to our school community. Would family members and Principal Cassidy please stand and be recognized?
Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you so much for what you do.
Kim and Benita from Sandhills Farm Life, please join Vice Chair Davis and Board Member Benway at the front. Kim Hilliard is this month's Engage, Inspire, Succeed Certified Staff Honoree for Sandhills Farm Life Elementary School. This is Kim's 32nd year as a music teacher. She brings a passion for her work that inspires students and colleagues alike. Her lessons are curriculum-driven and interactive, incorporating a wide variety of instruments she has curated over the years. Kim sets high expectations for herself when creating and managing our school music programs, Sandhills Farm Life's annual Heritage Day, and the Fall Festival silent auction. A true team player, car line expert, and scheduling whiz, her knowledge, organization, and problem-solving skills make her the go-to for both our campus and the music teachers in Moore County as the district's lead music teacher. We are blessed and honored to call her our own. Benita Powell is this month's Engage, Inspire, Succeed support staff honoree for Sandhills Farm Life Elementary School. Mrs. Powell has worked in various roles within Moore County Schools for the past 28 years as a teacher assistant and bus driver. She is always dependable and willing to go the extra mile to support our students. Throughout the day, you might find her working with small groups of kindergartners, supervising the playground, teaching upper elementary students during intervention, or helping to de-escalate a student in distress. At the beginning and end of each day, she ensures the safety of our students as a bus driver. We at Sandhills Farm Life deeply appreciate the many hats Mrs. Powell wears. With family members and Principal McPherson, please stand and be recognized.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you do.
Jackie and Terrence from Fast Lake View, please join Vice Chair Davis and Board Member Benway at the front. Jackie Brom is this month's Engage, Inspire, Succeed Certified Staff Honoree for Vast Lake View Elementary School. During her time at Vast Lake View, she has transitioned from an EC instructional assistant to an EC resource teacher and now also serves as the school's EC facilitator. Mrs. Brom always considers what is best for the whole child, recognizing that the most important aspect of teaching is building relationships and truly knowing her students. She skillfully manages the many responsibilities that come with being an EC teacher while ensuring that all stakeholders feel like part of the team. Terrence McLeod is this month's Engage, Inspire, Succeed support staff honoree for Vast Lakeview Elementary School. From his first day, Mr. McLeod has made building relationships with staff and students a priority. As the new head custodian for Vast Lakeview, he has worked closely with administration and his team to make the school a better place for all stakeholders. Mr. McLeod's constant positive and caring attitude can turn anyone's day around. You can always count on him to be smiling, dancing with kids, giving fist bumps, or offering encouragement to others. Would family members and Principal Bennett please stand and be recognized?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's such a hard job. Thank you so much. She puts a little extra on it, doesn't she? What's that?
Our next recognition was unable to be here at tonight's meeting, so I'd like to call Principal Wilson to accept the award on his behalf. So Larry Ward is this month's Engage, Inspire, Succeed student honoree from the Community Learning Center at Pinckney. We are proud to recognize Larry, an outstanding 8th grade student, for his remarkable academic growth, leadership, and commitment to excellence. He serves as a role model for his peers, consistently demonstrating initiative by helping his teachers and exhibiting impeccable manners. His dedication to his studies, even during his free time, is truly commendable. Outside the classroom, Larry excels in football and aspires to become a student athlete at Pinecrest. He will be a proud Patriot next year and is truly one of Moore County Schools' brightest stars. So, thank you. Congrats. And tonight is special. We have a couple of additional recognitions that we will have come up. Can Cheryl Brewer from Northmore High School please join Vice Chair Davis and Board Member Ben Way at the front? Coach Brewer is one of 8 inductees into the North Carolina High School Athletic Association Hall of Fame Class of 2024. She's a true Moore County coaching legend. With over 34 years of coaching at Northmore High School, she led the softball team to its only state championship in 1982. As athletic director, she served until her retirement in 2006, but her passion brought her back just 6 months later, extending her service to 45 years. Brewer's dedication to her students and the Northern Moore community has left an indelible mark that will resonate for generations. Would family members and Principal Patterson please stand and be recognized?
Thank you, Coach. Thank you so much.
And will Quint Dunlap please join Vice Chair Davis and Board Member Ben Way at the front? If you all have not seen Quint Dunlap, he is an automotive teacher at Pinecrest High School, and he's been awarded the 2024 Harbor Freight's Tools for Schools Prize for Teaching Excellence. Selected as one of only 25 winners nationwide from over 900 applicants, Mr. Dunlap received $15,000 for himself and $35,000 for his school's program. Celebrated for his role as a mentor and positive role model, he creates an environment where students feel valued and empowered to pursue their passions and skilled trades. Mr. Dunlap is only the second teacher chosen from North Carolina since the award's inception in 2017. This recognition highlights his exceptional commitment to educational traits. Would family members and Principal Phillips please stand and be recognized?
Congratulations.
And this concludes the recognition portion of tonight's meeting. I'll hand it back over to Board Chair Levy.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Batchelor. At this point in time, let me go to the consent agenda. No, not quite. No. Okay, we'll do that. All right. At this point in time, we will take about a 2-minute recess for those people who do not want to stay for the business portion of the meeting. Certainly, everyone is welcome to stay for the business portion of the meeting, but I do understand that some people don't wish to. So we'll take about a 2-minute recess at this point in time. I was just gonna roll into it. Calling us back into session. At this point in time, let me go to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second? Second. A second by Mr. Benway. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, at this point in time, we're going to go ahead with the public address to the board. I'll turn it over to the vice chair.
All right. This evening we've got 7 speakers. So I'll call the first 3 and then the next 4. And if y'all just come up in order, we'll have 3 minutes on the timer, and that pretty much settles it. So we've got Kate Bonsall, Carolyn Kelly, and Leo Gagnon. You can start whenever you're ready.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kate Bonsall, and I'm here to just give a reminder to the board. Some of you may have forgotten what you're here to do, and so this is your chance to be reminded. This past spring, I lost my son in a car accident several weeks before graduation. Bob Levy and Pauline Bruno came to his memorial service to shake my hand and tell me how sorry they were on behalf of Moore County Schools. I would like to think that a representative of the board would be at every one of those events for any parent who's in that dreadful situation. And that makes sense, that you would show up and show support for the family. Here's what you're not doing. You're not showing support for every student. You showed up to say you're sorry he's gone, but you haven't showed up to say you're sorry he might not have gotten the best support he needed from Moore County Schools because we couldn't afford to pay for qualified teachers, because we had permanent substitutes, because we have facilities that are falling apart. What are the things that you've been concentrating on this year? Well, we've got Pinecrest High School, which is sitting at probably about 3 times its original capacity. And you're spending your time building a high school in cooperation with Sandhills so that the really smart kids can have a nice high school. What about the rest of the kids? Where's their new high school that you promised a decade ago? Where is it? Why aren't you building a new high school? You've been concentrating on things like gender inspections for sports, proving that heterosexual marriage is the best way to raise a kid. You've been focusing on pulling books out of libraries. Our kids need decent facilities and decent teachers. Get your act together and make those happen for them. And David Hensley, quit stalking people.
Thank you, ma'am. Miss Kelly, go ahead. Miss Kelly.
Good evening, I'm Caroline Kelly, and I'm here today to introduce a new source of support for our Moore County parents and students, Moms for Liberty. This is a nationwide organization which, and here I'm quoting the mission statement. Hello. I'm an old teacher, I'm used to anything. This is a nationwide organization which, and here I'm quoting the mission statement, is dedicated to fighting for the survival of America by unifying, educating, and empowering parents to defend their parental rights at all levels of government. This week, our Moore County chapter was formally approved, joining 21 chapters in North Carolina and over 340 chapters in 48 states. We number approximately 300,000 members nationally. The stated values of the organization are that we stand for truth, we build relationships, and we empower others. Let me unpack these very briefly. The specific truth that was the impetus for our chapter to stand up is the truth that the terms biological sex and gender identity cannot be used interchangeably, as they now are in the extraordinary federal rewrite of Title IX regulations, which just went into force on August 1st. So we and many more county parents very much appreciate the school board's tabling of these changes. Thank you. 2, building relationships. As a mother of 5 and a grandmother of 10 school-age children, and as a former teacher and leader in the world language community at the regional and national levels, let me affirm that rather than criticizing, we wish to build positive relationships with school board members and with teachers so that our students get the best possible education. We also build relationships with candidates for school board by offering endorsements. 3rd, empowering others. Finally, in an age where a number of issues that were once the purview of the home have become part of school curricula, or where political theories such as critical race theory have become pervasive in America's schools, we're here to support parents and students whose freedom of expression may be at risk. I have copies of these remarks, which I will leave with you, and which have my contact information and our website information. And if I may, I'd like to request that they be entered into the record. Our thanks to each of you for all you've done over your term, and we look forward to continuing to work with and for Moore County schools in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leo Gagnon. Thank you. Just a second for the clock. Are you good, Charlie? Go ahead, sir.
I've given some handouts to Ms. Parker first.
Thank you.
And I'm asking that you all refrain from flipping through them as I require your attention, and I'll direct you to which pages to look through at the time.
Yes, sir.
Members of the boards, parents, and concerned community members. I'm here today to remind this board of the meeting in June, specifically regarding the board member technology use policy. Remember when Mr. Hensley had a meltdown because he found out that he is not allowed to post pictures of our children online. He wanted an exception to that rule. The policy states board members may not post confidential information about students, employees, or school system business. That is a quote. This should go without saying, but that includes the names of students who have been sexually assaulted. I'm sure we all agree that this is it is inexcusable to engage in hate groups online that target our children, parents, and teachers, schools, local businesses, since the policy clearly states board members should not use personal social media to harass, bully, intimidate students, employees, or other board members, which means a board member should not be inciting violence against other board members. Now please reference page 5 of your handout to see where he posted, if truth shall kill them, let them die, and calls out Benway, Levy, and Davis. Or when he posted, should we forgive our enemies, but not before they are hanged? Or when in response to a post that says, if you buy anything from Jews, there's a small chance that they will have a hidden remote-controlled explosive inside that they can detonate from Israel at any time to blow up in your face, legs, or hands. Mr. Hensley asked for a link to a Jewish blow-up doll for a friend clearly directed at Levy. All of this because they do not always agree with his extremism, like demanding to know what immigration status of community members or wanting to count native Spanish-speaking students as illegal immigrants to further peddle MAGA's rhetoric that illegal aliens are consuming our funds. The school board should not be political. You should be concerned with the safety and well-being of our children instead of engaging in online hate groups. You should not be putting children in danger. But is this what conservative leadership does? Endorses somebody who harasses students, parents, and teachers publicly? When a person entrusted with political authority is one endangering the very people he is supposed to serve, he has proven beyond a doubt that he is unfit to represent our schools. Anywhere else, this would be a fireable offense, yet this board has not only tolerated it, but apologizes to him for holding him accountable. Meanwhile, those people of interest are being stalked, harassed, and receiving death threats constantly. We have seen this pattern of intimidation and fear being used as a tactic to silence students, women, teachers, and community members for exercising their First Amendment right to speak out for their accountability. And these tactics used to attack our community from an elected official is deplorable. Everyone here and watching needs to know what I've outlined. This is all what Mr. Hensley says out in the open and freely to be found online, and everyone should be terrified and angry. And people need to know that this is the impact of conservative leadership. And please hold on to the packets for the next speaker, and she will continue to walk you through them.
Up next, we'll have Caitlin Boyan, Amy Dahl, Brooklyn, Archold? Adderhold, thank you. And the last will be Betsy Oster.
Last week, Mr. Henley accused this board of pulling a political stunt for not putting him back on his committees, and I want everyone listening to know that that is not true. He is simply unfit to be in this position. It is your political stunt that has now backfired, harassing students and community members online, thinking nobody would show up with receipts. Since your censure, you have shown zero remorse. Instead, you've doubled down on your reckless conduct. Why did David want to be allowed to post our children so badly in June? Because part of his political stunt is providing content for a local online hate group that posts images of myself, my child, along with other parents, students, teachers, and community members in hopes of scaring us into silence. Fear of retaliation is valid. Nobody should have their livelihood threatened or be harassed the way that some of us have. On page 1 of your handout, you'll see where he has promoted this page on his personal social media and that he provides content. Several parents filed police reports in July for doxing community members and posting pictures of our children, minor children. It's worth noting that most of his targets are queer or have a disability. On page 2, you'll see a picture of my daughter and a picture of a queer kid who also has a disability. The comment says, quote, "That kid needs to go into the gym, and so do you," referring to their mother. Call this child a clown. A school board member promotes this page, engages with this page, and provides content for this page, which makes sense as to why Mr. Hensley needed to be exempt from this policy. On page 3 is a post where a parent is called a pervert and dangerous. It reads that she, quote, posts publicly about its boyfriend molesting its child. It then brags about taking the child to the gender clinic. She wonders why everyone refers to it as mentally ill, end quote. David Hensley responds with, quote, "It's funny because it's true." Is it funny to bully students and their mothers? Not only was this caption untrue, it's dangerous for this child, and I cannot believe that I have to stand up here and say this to a 60-year-old grown man. This behavior is permissible because this is how conservative leadership keeps, quote, transgenderism, as you guys have referenced it, and queer kids out of public schools by violating Title IX and harming our children and our community in the process, targeting our marginalized students for being queer and their parents for loving and supporting their children. We begged you to leave our kids alone, and on page 4, a mother doing just that. And Hensley uses it as an opportunity to call Levy and Holmes traitors for engaging with parents' concerns, their elected duty. We don't want our children on your social media, David. We don't want our children on a platform that stirs up hatred, and it's an easy concept to grasp. We don't want our kids posted on a page that engages with pornographic material like yours. Perhaps banning Hensley instead of books would have been safer for our children. This is why we have policies that prohibit sharing images of students without permission. This is why the Supreme Court has repeatedly upheld privacy protections for our children. In November, we, all the people, will make sure that you do not have to worry about these responsibilities, and you will have plenty of time to frolic on your social media without using our children as pawns. You have failed to protect our students, and we're not going to stand by while you continue putting them at risk.
Thank you,
Your
ma'am.
political stunt has proven
Miss
that you are
Bowen.
unsafe
I'm
for our
so- Miss
children,
Bowen,
and if
I'm
you
s-
continue, there
Miss-
will be a lawsuit.
Thank you. All right. If members of the audience, please refrain. We had a very professional debate last night at where was that? At Pinecrest, and the audience there, and it was very powerful. I think a lot of you were there. Anyway, we behaved ourselves there, so let's do it here too, please. And Miss Dahl, you go right ahead.
Good evening. My name is Amy Dahl. That was an interesting work session. Our teachers clearly worked hard to do what you asked of them and brought up end of grade and end of course scores. But our ACT scores fell precipitously. There's a connection between these two results. I'm familiar with the ACT as one of my side jobs is tutoring students in ACT prep. It is a very different test from the end of grade and end of course tests that loom so large in our school report cards. The EOGs and EOCs are like a standardized final exam for a single course. They are literally created by teachers from around the state. The ACT is a different animal. It is a whole lot more sophisticated and rigorous than the state final exams. It is comprehensive, and it is a strong predictor of success in college. So why has our success on the ACT fallen so sharply? As I've been trying to tell you, excessive emphasis on the state final exams is detrimental to real learning and long-term academic progress. The decline in ACT scores is evidence. Let me draw on my own experience to paint a picture. The state final exams in the courses I teach were eliminated a few years ago. Since that time, while I teach the same standards, my guiding principle is what will best serve the student in the future. I emphasize topics that support other learning within the course, that help students understand future subjects, and that students are likely to remember. I plan activities that develop students' use of written and spoken English, their conceptual understanding of math, and the durable skills. and I teach data analysis, use of models, and reasoning from evidence. These are skills science students must have, which the state has finally gotten around to including in its new science standards. My students go on to excel in science at state and UNC. But once upon a time, my subjects were tested by the state, and I know how to teach to the test. I used to have the highest scores in Moore County on the physical science test. Let me give an example of how I accomplished that. The physical science test had 3 questions on classifying chemical equations. A chemical equation has 1 or more chemical formulas on the left side, and then an arrow and 1 or more formulas on the right. They fall into 5 different patterns that the students learn to distinguish by how many formulas were on the left and right sides and how many of the formulas were elements. Just a trick. 3 questions plus random chance was enough for a student to pass the physical science final. 3 questions was more than half a letter grade in the results. Every student coming out of my class could do that skill. Did it mean anything to them at all? No. Did it support anything else they were learning? No. Were they going to remember it a week after the exam? No. Did it have any practical use whatsoever? No, but it did wonders for their test results. Proficiency is just a word. It is a label for a certain score level. It doesn't mean that a student is actually proficient or will remember anything. And there is a trade-off. If you put all your eggs in the basket of proficiency, you will lose real academic progress. Falling ACT scores are evidence.
Thanks. Miss Oster. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Brooklyn, and I'm here to address the Board of Education, specifically Mr. Hensley. Mr. Hensley, you are expected to be someone whose students can trust and admire. Your behavior should set a positive example for us. However, your actions have involved encouraging bullying and participating in it. At 11 years old, I would never treat others the way you have. It's disappointing that I, an 11-year-old, must point out that your behavior and actions are inappropriate and wrong. There is no excuse for treating others, especially children, in such a way. If there's one thing you take from my speech, I hope it's realizing that you need to be a better role model in person. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Good evening.
Hold-
I just wanted to point out, I'm Mrs. Oster.
Yes,
And
I'm sorry, I said the wrong name earlier,
okay.
and thank you, ma'am. Give Mr. Batchelor just a second to reset your time, please, ma'am. Yes. Mm-hmm.
My name's Betsy Oster. And I just want to point out something, that the entire time that young girl was so brave to stand up here and make that speech, Mr. Hensley sat on his phone the entire time staring at it. So disrespectful to your students that you're supposed to be paying attention to. And that's why I'm here tonight. I'm speaking about my son, and I'm speaking about the lack of training and development that the teachers in this district have had or get on all these work days in regards to special education, in regards to specifically to differentiation of instruction. Every child in this country is due a free and public education at their level. I have a child who was born with some extenuating circumstances. I did everything that I could do early intervention because I have a master's in special ed and I have a master's in education as a reading specialist with a concentration in assessment. So I know what I'm talking about. So when I sent my son to school the first year and brought to the attention of the EC team that there was an issue going on, I was told he's fine. The second year, he was fine. But his grades kept getting lower and lower. You see, my son, when you look at him, you can't tell that he has any sort of disability. And that's the problem that I have come across for the past 5.5 years at his elementary school with the teachers and the EC team. I have been insulted, I have been gaslit, and I have been told that there's nothing we can do for you, Mrs. Oster, as one of your central administration people told me. Sat in the last meeting that I went into to ask. I had to request 3 times to have him tested. 3 times I was denied. I went and bit the bullet, got him tested myself, and wouldn't you know, everything that I knew from my own background was exactly what it is. He is autistic. He is ADHD combined presentation. He has a processing speed of 1%. It's in the 1 percentile. But his IQ is above normal. That is an invisible disability. And these teachers that are in our classrooms do not recognize children that are struggling if they're not failing. If they're not failing, if they're not a behavior problem, if they're not annoying or making noise, but if they're a good child like my son, who's respectful, compassionate, caring, and tries to get his work done and stares at a paper, and I have teachers telling me, oh, he can do the work, he just doesn't want to. No, he wants to. He needs somebody to teach him how. And now, 5 years later, we have a gap this big. They're finally going to test him because I tested him myself and paid an excessive amount of money to do it myself. And that was on the teachers.
Thank you, ma'am. That's all of ours.
I had just a question. The little girl,
ma'am.
what was the little girl's last name? Thank you. Adderall. Thank you.
Thank you for saying that properly. I'm sorry.
We are finished? Okay. All right. At this point in time, let's take about a 5-minute break, and then we'll resume back here in precisely 5 minutes. Everybody ready? Rock on, as they say. Okay. Calling the board back into session. At this point in time, we'll go ahead to the original budget resolution. Dr. Locklear.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll ask Assistant Superintendent for Budget and Finance, Ms. Tina Edmonds, to come up. At a work session, we did present information around the board's original budget resolution and where we are landing now that we have all the information from the county and the state. And I'll ask Ms. Evans if she would review the executive summary. And my recommendation is to approve this original budget resolution. As you recall, this is the original budget resolution. Each quarter we bring changes for you to approve that may happen based on different shifts in the budget or additional funding that we receive from the state or federal government. So, Tina?
Okay. For state, which is Fund 1, we have our budget is $99,976,136. For local, Fund 2 is $41,704,475. Federal, which is Fund 3, is $11,742,680. For capital expense, Fund 4 is $6,459,061. Child nutrition, school nutrition, Fund 5 is $8,330,500. Child care, Fund 7, $1,500,000. Restricted funds, grants for Fund 8 is $11,443,091, making our total 24-25 budget $181,155,943.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the original budget resolution?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second? Second by the vice chair. Is there discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of adopting the original budget resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? One nay. Okay, the motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Evans.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Emmett. Dr. Locklear, we have the first reading of our new policy. This is a policy which was brought forward by a committee. So the motion is before us. There is no need for a second. Dr. Locklear, do you want to just summarize what the policy is?
Yes, sir. This is a telework policy for the school district. I shared previously in September and we discussed in committee. I do think it would be wise for us as a school district to have a telework policy. Most school districts do. This policy would outline and define what telework or remote work is. It would outline when that can take place in emergency situations, for teachers to potentially be able to do that on officer teacher workday, for discretionary telework, and in other conditions. There's also, for your information and the public's information, the regulations and procedures that we developed as a team, as a staff, to help administer this if the board were to approve it. And I do believe this would be in the best interest of our district to have a policy that actually defines this and outlines this and administers it. So it does come with my recommendation.
Do I have a motion to approve the new policy? Oh, excuse me. Well, yes, at this point, is there, the motion is on the floor. Is there discussion? Yes, sir.
Your microphone.
Yeah, I'm sorry. If you could bring the policy up real quick. Actually, there's no need to there's no need to bring it up. My objections to this are the same as my objections when it was brought up originally. I know it's been modified a little bit, but I am very concerned about the outsourcing of jobs to people who ultimately may not live in Moore County. And I know that the superintendent has said that that's not his intent. And, you know, obviously, Dr. Locklear, I'll take you at your word at that. But, you know, I'm just not willing to vote to give the power of the unilateral power to the superintendent where he or she, you know, ultimately, you know, where a superintendent down the line can just unilaterally start outsourcing jobs to other locations without board approval. So that's why I'm opposed to this policy. Because I believe that in there, it, you know, when you scroll down a bit, it does allow to create full-time positions that are teleworking positions. And I know this is the 21st century, and I know all that. However, I also know that, outsourcing of jobs, whether it's to one county over, or one state over, or to India or wherever, that's not what the public wants with their tax money. I don't do it with my company, and I certainly don't want to do it with public money. And again, Dr. Locklear, I know that's not your intent, but that's what what my understanding of this policy would allow for a superintendent that was so inclined. So that's my opposition to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Other board members? Okay, just would say my opinion is that I trust Dr. Locklear to administer the policy in a good manner. We do have control over hiring if that ever did become an issue. So I'll be voting in favor of it. Okay, other comments? Okay, if not, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. One nay. Motion passes. At this point in time, we'll move to Mr. Hensley, a discussion on the directive to make available certain books and publications requested by board members. Mr. Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the reason I asked that a discussion be put on today's agenda was because in the work session, the chair expressed his desire. There was a committee report coming from, I believe it was the curriculum committee, about this list of books that I'd read about in the pilot, because the pilot covered a committee report, and the chair was taking the recommendation from the committee, and rather than having a discussion of it in the board in its entirety, kind of to get our intent and thoughts, the chair's intent was to immediately refer it to the policy committee, who would then, without getting the full input and thoughts on the board from the board, they would start writing a policy. And then when it came up as a policy, it would be pretty much a take it or leave it. I mean, okay, you get input into the policy once it's written, but it seemed to me it would be a lot more efficient and a lot better to present something for discussion and consideration for the board, so that the people writing the policy knew what the board's thoughts were. So that's why I asked that this be put on the agenda. And my expectations were that whoever's championed this kind of explain, because all I know was what I learned when I briefly skimmed through the pilot. I can't say I read it in detail, and I can't say that I understand what the whole program is. So I would like to, my understanding is that Ms. Bruno championed this. So someone or the committee chair explain it, and then I know Ms. Caldwell had some thoughts on it. I know I have some thoughts on it. And then, if the board decides to proceed, at least the policy committee hears people's thoughts. So when they're putting the policy together, they put something that is palatable to everyone on the board, or at least the majority of the board. So that's why I asked that there be a discussion on this, rather than it just go from committee to committee, and then the policy committee coughs up something that we may or may not find acceptable. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything to say about it? Mike?
Well, I'm hoping that the person who's championing it gives a presentation on it.
I'll talk
So
about it.
what's the program? No one. Me and Ms. Caldwell don't know what the program is.
Okay.
Well, the way, interestingly, the way these things work is that they generally go to committees, and committees generally try to figure them out and then make a presentation.
Okay, Mr. Levy, I
to
don't
the
have
board.
any trouble
Okay, all right.
talking about this.
All right, well, go ahead.
Okay, in the fall of 2023, C-SPAN and the Library of Congress came out with a series of books ranging from 250 years ago up to now, approximately. And these are the books that shaped America. It begins with, well, it could begin anywhere, but Common Sense is included. The narrative and the life of Frederick Douglass, Huckleberry Finn, My Antonia, which is the only book on this list that I have never read. I do not know why it's included. It looks like it's the expansion of the West, but I'm not sure. Cesar Chavez, which has to do with the unions. There's a lot in here and how America became America today. My biggest gripe is that I don't believe that our children know what's going on in our country. I don't believe that they know our history that well. I don't believe that they know how America became America. And this is just something that I saw and I think would be fabulous to integrate this into our schools. There's a couple books on here that we won't include, like the Federalist Papers, the Common Law. The other one was Their Eyes Were Watching God, which I have read twice, and I still can't figure out why it's on the list. I think it has to do with women finally exerting themselves and saying, this is that I'm a woman, I don't need a man, I can survive by myself. That's what I get from it. But the rest of the books are fabulous. Common Sense just explains why the United States broke off from Britain. It explains the Revolutionary War. It explains how we came about forming our own country, the deciding factors of that. What's wrong with our children knowing that? The history of the expedition under the command of Captains Lewis and Clark. That's a fascinating book. How they began, how they built different ships according to what different rivers they were in, how the whole West was opened up to them, the new animals, the new flora. The book was amazing. I don't have to tell you about the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, because that is just one of my absolute all-time favorites. Huckleberry Finn. I just think that these books are important, and the reason why it hit me so much is last year Mr. Benway and I rode a couple of the buses and school buses, and on the bus we used to talk to the kids and try to fill their time, asking them questions, asking them what's the name of that game that you play that you ask kids? What? No, not that, but I was just asking them like the oceans and all those kind of things. Trivia. Very good. Thank you very much. Trivia. So we were playing that, and I asked, well, what's the capital of North Carolina? I got everything from Robbins to Fuquay-Varina. These are, what? It's not Robbins, no. It's, this was a whole busload of 5th grade students. Come on, they don't know what the capital of North Carolina is? So I asked, well, what's the capital of the United States? Nobody knew. Now, if that doesn't break your heart the way it broke mine, then something's wrong. Something is absolutely wrong. So shortly after that, I was in another 5th grade classroom. And I asked the teacher, I said, can I ask your students a question? And I asked them, and they knew. Some of them knew. And I was told, well, if it's not in the guidelines from the Department of Public Instruction, we can't teach it. Excuse me? When I taught school, if a magic moment came up, you taught that. That's what you taught. So that is why this particular list really hit me. And I just think that this is a great idea. So did I answer your question?
Look, part of this was just to get information so that, I got to decide whether I'm for this or not and what,
Okay, well, that you can decide.
What input, if any, I have in, before it goes to policy. Let me ask you this. You did say one thing at the very end. You said, if not, when someone told you, I assume it was someone in teaching, but if not in something, then they can't teach it. What did they say it wasn't in? If it's not in
the standards.
in the state standard?
The standards.
In the state standards. But
Well, that's not
No,
that's
absolutely
that's
not
absolutely
true. And
not
I have
true.
talked to our superintendent,
he
and I
said
have
it was
talked to
saying.
Mike, and that is absolutely not true.
Yeah.
I don't know
That's
why
what I thought
was
you
told
said
that.
was state standards, and I'm like, that's not
No,
true at all. We
absolutely
said
not.
so just so the public knows, the state has guidelines, but Moore County Schools, we develop our own curriculum. We have teachers come in every summer to develop our curriculum, and it is 100% tailored for Moore County.
Well, and I'm not saying that this isn't taught. I'm sure it is, but we need repetition and review. These are important things. This is everyday life. And we don't know what the capital of the United States is?
Right.
Come on, guys. You would never go to China and ask a child, a third grader, a first grader. They would know. So I'm really passionate about this.
Obviously.
What else?
I got some questions, but you are obviously
Okay, I
it's
am
good. It's
passionate.
good that
I'm
you should
very
be.
passionate
I love
about this.
passion's
How
good.
do you not understand and not know and be proud of the country that you were born in?
So just a couple questions. So how were the books to the grades decided when you look through this
They
paper
weren't.
up here? Well, they're assigned. They say in grades 4 and 5 or whatever, grades 5 they're going to do
that was-
this, and grades 6 are going to.
That was just out of the blue because the first time Huckleberry Finn does not belong in grade 5 at all. And it was just
Right. Well, that's why I want to discuss this. So when it goes to the part,
don't even go by that.
So who came up with that? Just out of curiosity. Did you come up
Mr.
with that?
Levy came up with that.
Okay. All right. So anyway, someone decided that Huckleberry Finn.
But I
is a
wouldn't
good-
I would
go
take
by
that
that.
back.
Okay.
No one
So-
decided it. This was for discussion. In other words, it's not decided. In a committee, you discuss, should these things be mandatory? Should these things, there was a suggestion by one of the members of the administration that we have a test run with these books in one particular school. Those are things that you have back and forth
Well, that's
with the administration.
And we
Yeah.
And we did. We talked about that. We talked about piloting a program. We
No.
talked
Look,
about
I understand. Look, I understand all that. I'm trying to understand so I can provide. We can provide feedback, so it just kind of comes out better. So, we know how the books are currently chosen to support the curriculum on an ongoing cycle. The teachers come in, and during the summer they review curriculum. Maybe this year they do math, and next year they do social studies. So the central office has a schedule that they redo curriculums, and it's probably a 5-year cycle. Maybe it's got to be lengthy, right?
Yeah, we're consistently looking at the curriculums, but it is on a cycle. Yes, sir.
5 or 6 years, right? I mean, it's not every year you look at every curriculum.
No, we choose the curriculums when we need to, and of course the state with new standards
Yeah, they
is
come out with
updating them
ones.
on a
Yeah.
cycle too,
Yeah.
which then leads us to work with our resources and materials.
Then one thing that jumped out on me is this says it's right there, commencing with the first semester of 2025. So first of all, is that calendar year 2025 or academic year 2025? Well, it doesn't say. It just says commencing with the first semester of 2025. I mean, that could be so. That's an ambiguity.
meant to be the school
Academic year.
the school year.
Okay.
But there's a
I'm
whole
ju-
lot
right,
with
right.
the curriculum.
I'm just trying
that we
to. I'm just
need
trying to
to
clarify.
talk-
Yeah. So.
talk about.
So look, I will say this, and then Stacy may have some input. But here's my input. God, we should just put common sense on there 10 times, and maybe if we just handled common sense 10 times, that would be good for society. But all joking aside, these are great literary works that I think our students should be exposed to, and it is in keeping with our mission statement of producing, fine, upstanding citizens. My only input into so now that I've heard it, and now that I know kind of what the plan is, my input would be that these books should be adopted, but I think the schedule should be, they need to be integrated in the curriculum rather than being force fed and saying, you will do this, start fall of next year, and everyone's got to scramble how to do it. Figure out what the curriculum development cycle is, and over the next 2 or 3 years, when that curriculum is being revised, then put this stuff in there, because we do have the power. Look, the state sets the standards, but we develop the methods and the curriculum. So, we say, look, we want these books, and I don't know how you do it in policy, but you say, look, we want these great foundational books. Maybe it's actually an appendix that can be added to and subtracted from. And then the school board maintains a list of books that we want integrated in the curriculum as those curriculums come up for revisiting or rewriting, whatever the correct term is. That's
Mike, let me answer that.
Yes, sir.
I just want to be clear off the top. I do not recommend this. I have no problem as superintendent, in fact, would support making sure we have these books in our media centers and they are available for our students and continue to be available for our staff. I do not recommend and would not support making this a mandatory thing for our teachers and students to have to do on top of what we are already doing with our students to grow them and to meet the standard course of study and to grow their literacy skills. I would say that many of these texts are being used in our classrooms. Excerpts of them are being used in our classrooms, whether that be our social studies class and a U.S. history class, talking about the foundations of our country or the Revolutionary War or what have you, whether that be in an English language arts class. So, but I would not recommend as superintendent and support that we make this mandatory. I do feel like that would be getting into micromanaging what our teachers are doing. And I do believe we're already doing high level and rigorous activities with our teachers and with our students.
Well, let me ask you this, Dr. Locklear. So I would 100% understand an objection based upon, the timeliness of it. And, if it was out of the blue, but if these books are integrated into the curriculum, I mean, all the curriculums have some sort of required mandatory reading. What I don't understand, and this is part of, discussion and debate, right? I don't understand what the resistance or the objection would be if it was like, hey, these books are important enough where they need to over time be integrated into the curriculum as required reading. What's the objection? But and let me add, and I'm sorry you were about to speak, but to say that we're micromanaging, well, there's books mandated by the curriculum committee. Why wouldn't the school board have a say in some of the books that are mandated by, when I say curriculum committee, I'm talking these groups that come out in the summer. The teachers mandate to themselves, these are mandatory books for these classes, right? Some I know there's optional books and then there's required
resources
books.
that they can choose from to use to teach those standards. They get
Right.
choice in that.
But are there no mandatory books for any curriculum?
I would not say they're mandatory books for the curriculum. There are resources that we provide that they can use. I would say, as Dr. Locklear mentioned, many of these books are already in our courses. For example, I just made a list in civic literacy, common sense, Federalist Papers, 11th grade American history, Frederick Douglass, the Cesar book. The difference between reading the full book, though, is that they're using excerpts from those books. They're not reading the full books. And one of the challenges for us is, frankly, just time, particularly in history courses and social studies courses that have expansion amount of time that we're trying to teach in the limited amount of time that we have the students in front of us, that when we add 10 books to that over the course of their career, that becomes tremendously challenging. For example, I asked our curriculum people to give me an example of that. If we were to use Frederick Douglass and the words of Cesar Chavez, if that fits into American history, that's the standard where it would fit. That would be the class. But to do that and really teach it, not just hand the book to the students, say, read this and good luck, but to really teach it like we would expect our teachers to do, provide instruction, resources, discussion. You're talking about 10 to 18 weeks of instruction for an 18-week course. And that course depends, it would be more like 10 if you gave them the book and every student had the book and there's a cost there and they took that home, or if you use it as a class set, it's going to take more time because they're going to have to use class time in order to be able to read that book. So it becomes a time crunch for us with what we're expected to teach, what our teachers are expected to teach over that course of period. And so it's not just how do we build them in, because many of them are already there, but they're excerpts. I'll also point out, because I did a little research on this, I went to the C-SPAN, and these are great books. There isn't any question. I don't think there's anybody who would fight with that or disagree with the selections that they've chosen. And again, we're using them in many of the classes. But interestingly enough, they provide resources for teachers to use, which is great for excerpts. They provide, and they say, teach this excerpt of the book, or teach this excerpt, which is exactly what we're doing.
Okay.
If I can just add to that too, and you just kind of took the words out of my mouth. That's kind of what I was going to go, just kind of explain that as well. And even to the point of first grade, I know that we talk a lot about Frederick Douglass. There's a great little 10-page book about Frederick Douglass that's wonderful for the kids, and we talk about him, and especially during like Black History Month around there too. So we do a lot, and I think it's all integrated and it kind of builds up. And even for civics class that my daughter's in now, in 10th grade, they're doing the states, and she had to learn every capital with every state. And it was a great, actually, a little online app that she found, and she was learning them. And so, so they are, it's like a building block that they're, they learn maybe a little bit in 5th grade, but yet they're going to build and build and build. So I think we're on the right path. I think this would be great for supplementing, but as far as requirement, I have to agree with Dr. Metcalf, I'm sorry, that it's just too much. It would be too much.
My feeling, though, is that we teach a lot of excerpts of books. We need to teach the entirety of books much more than we do. There is a trend in education to teach simply excerpts and not to look, and by the way, we're talking nonfiction here, but I'm talking about especially when it comes to fiction, understanding character and the like. And I do understand that when kids are getting to college, they've got a great understanding of how to read excerpts and things like that, but they have no grounding in depth. I do believe that we should have certain books which are mandatory and what every well-read student ought to read. I do think we're premature in discussing it as a board like this. I would rather be discussing it with 2 or 3 members of the administration or in a committee to say, well, how can we integrate these books? Mr. Hensley, I think, is correct. We do need to integrate these books into the curriculum, but discussing how to do that is what you do at a committee level, and talking to members of the administration by figuring out exactly how to do that, okay? And then you come up with a plan which is good, and you present it to the board, and then you let the board work on that plan one way or another. But I think at this point, we're a little premature, except for one thing. I do believe that all these books should be in the libraries at the middle school and high school level. They should be in the stacks, so to speak, so that they're available at least at this juncture. But I'm not, that might be a resolution that might come from a committee. So that's the way I look at it. I don't think we would decide anything right here and right now among this group. I think we're just premature.
Well, there was no intent to decide anything. There was an intent to have a discussion before it disappeared into a committee and then came up as a policy that we got to read for, a weekend and then had to vote on. That was my fear, and, there's precedence for that, so I don't think my fear was unfounded. There is a bit of a disconnect, though, because I was focusing, and I think that Dr. Metcalf was focusing on integrating it in the curriculum. Well, I misspoke. I was thinking about integrating it in the curriculum, but if you look up here, it's read the books. And then Dr. Metcalf was talking about, thoroughly covering the books in a, 8-week lesson. So I think there's already disconnect as to what the vision is and the mission here is. I think these are great books. I think that they should be integrated into our curriculum. But my suggestion would be to let the central office come back and say, hey, Dr. Locklear, these are great books. Everyone agrees to it. How do we integrate these into our curriculum, and let them come back with a proposed schedule and approach to that.
I agree with that. It is overwhelming when you look at all of these. Can't we start with one book? Could we talk about that?
Well, I would say a couple things. Of course, we could talk about anything, absolutely, Ms. Bruno. But what I would say a couple things. One, I wouldn't want us to make overbroad assumptions about our students. I think that our students are learning at high levels. I think we can look at the outcomes of our kids when they graduate.
And I said that. I said that I went to the fifth grade.
I'm not chastising when I say that.
Okay.
I'm just I just saying this because I feel compelled to say it and just want to advise the board of that I think our students are learning at high levels. I think we're always going to find different answers when we're working with different kids. But I would also say that we have students who are graduating our high schools that are going on in some of the most elite colleges and universities in the nation and world. And so I think that speaks highly for how our teachers and our parents and our community are preparing our students. And we have students who are graduating and can read high levels of technical automotive journals and things and understand that, while they might not read and really get into common sense. But we have kids that are reading at high levels. We have kids that are performing at high levels. And I just don't want to make overbroad statements about our kids. I know our board is incredibly proud of Moore County Schools, incredibly proud of our teachers, incredibly proud of our kids. And I just want to double down on that. Very proud of our students and teachers and the outcomes that our kids are showing. Certainly open to discussing anything the board wants to discuss. I think the best way to ensure our students are continuing to learn these types of things is to integrate it into the curriculum like we currently are. And we're certainly open to going deeper into how we're currently doing that, so the board can really get into maybe more depth of how we're currently integrating some of these books and using other great books and other resources, and certainly continue that type of discussion. I'm certainly wide open to that.
Yeah, and yes, and so am I. And don't ever for 1 second think that I don't think we have the best teachers in the world, because I do think that. It was just a very heartbreaking experience for me, and I really do think that our children don't know enough about our government and about our country. I really don't think they know it.
Anything further? Seeing nothing further, we'll move on. Mr. Hensley, you wanted to discuss the receipt of gratuities?
Yes. The second thing is, as elected officials, and we have a duty, and the public we have a duty for a high degree of ethics, and we should expect it of ourselves. The public expects it, and the law actually demands it. So I'm going to report today what I believe is a breach of ethics by board members. And let me lay the groundwork for this a bit. North Carolina General Statute 143.310, 318 maybe, on closed sessions, it requires that all accusations and deliberations against or among elected officials occur in public, i.e. it cannot occur in closed session. Therefore, I'm addressing this in an open session to comply with the North Carolina General Statute on closed sessions. Moore County Schools Policy 2121, board member conflicts of interest, covers this, and the Moore County School Policy 2021 conflict of interest references General Statute 14-234, titled Public Officials Benefiting from Contracts. So here's where we're at. As everyone knows, the U.S. Open was held here in Pinehurst over the summer, very successful event, and the PGA, I believe it was, came to us and asked to use our facilities and wanted a contract with Moore County Schools to use our facilities. And as a body, we deliberated that, and as we should have. And during the deliberations, a board member asked, can we get free tickets? That was a direct question why we were doing deliberations for this contract. Can we get free tickets, if memory serves me correctly? And I think it does. And I would remind everyone there's a recording of this. My understanding, actually I'm quite sure, that 4 board members got VIP tickets to the U.S. Open after participating in drafting and approving the contract. And those tickets, if they're similar, they were VIP tickets, all access tickets. I know that my company purchased 4 of those tickets for, the VIP tickets for my company and our guests. And I believe they were $3,000 to $4,000 a ticket. So we're not talking an insignificant amount of money. We're talking tickets to the U.S. Open valued between $3,000 and $4,000. So that's where we're at. And I believe that there is a violation. There's an ethics issue here that has to be addressed. So here's I got a series of questions. Ms. Bruno's already addressed this. So my question, I ask each of you, Mr. Levy, Ms. Davis, and Ms. Caldwell, did you receive tickets to the did you receive free tickets to the U.S. Open?
Well, this is not an inquiry or an inquisition, and I'm not going to require any board member to answer Mr. Hensley's question. But I will tell you that for every good deed, there is a just punishment. My good deed was that I got together with Father Capodanno High School and got a pass using the passes of Father Capodanno High School, and actually also using the passes of, I used Father Capodanno's high school, and went to the U.S. Open and sold beer at about $11 a can, which was, I think, outrageous, but that was the price that they were charging, and $4 a can for water. In doing so, I earned money for Northmore High School. And by the way, got to the U.S. Open at 6 a.m., okay? Walked in some extreme heat, and I'm not a well person, okay? And did 2 shifts. To say that we go to the U.S. Open for fun is terrible thing. And I was very, very proud. That was my entire trip to the U.S. Open. And as I understand it, I earned some money. Now, if the board wants to pay for my time, which I doubt they really want to do, for selling the beer and the overpriced water, that's fine. Okay. But some of the things that, you know, to say that there's improper gratuities is, I think, just the wrong way to approach this. And I'm not going to, I've answered for myself because I believe I need to answer for myself, because I nearly collapsed walking in that heat from that parking lot over to the Putter Boy tent to sell that beer. And by the way, could have gotten into the Putter Boy tent because I'm a member of the Pinehurst Country Club. So that was free too. So I'll just leave it at that. If anybody else wants to talk about it, they can.
I thought you were going to say something.
Well, I mean, Mr. Levy won't answer the question, but he certainly talked for 5 minutes about how he struggled to walk to the By the way, just for the record, Pinehurst members had to buy tickets to attend the U.S. Open.
Did they also sell beer? Because that's the only reason why I was there.
My question was, and you said you didn't want to answer it, is did you receive free
I'm not
tickets
here.
from the
I'm
U.S.
not here
Golf
to answer
Association?
your inquiry.
Okay.
I'm here to say that I think that you're trying to besmirch the board and some good people on the board for something which is, I think, utterly and absolutely trivial. And I think we have to get involved in education. And I don't think there is a single person on this board that solicited any tickets for anything that they shouldn't have gotten. So I think it's I can see where you really want to get at the board. And you really want to.
Mr. Levy, it has nothing to do with that. I mean, the policy is very clear, the ethics are very clear, and the North Carolina General Statute is very clear, and it's very clear. And there's been a violation. So the question is, what are we going to do about it?
Okay.
We have 4 members of this board.
Do you wish to make a motion of any type?
No, this is a discussion.
And which
Okay,
members? Stacy, Bob, and who else? Who were the others that you were saying?
Okay. All right.
I don't mind saying it because I think this is really stupid. And I don't mean to laugh at that, but it's true. I did not go to the U.S. Open. I have no interest in going to the U.S. Open. So I don't mind saying that.
Right.
I will also say I did not attend the U.S. Open.
I did. I was offered the tickets, never thought anything of it, never thought I was doing anything wrong. I went. I was so proud of our relationship with the PGA, and I was so proud of Pinehurst. I did go, and I did take the tickets. Never thought I was doing anything wrong.
Anything else? Okay.
Yeah, no, I have something. So look, we've all attended. Look, our policies are our policies. The North Carolina General Statutes are the North Carolina General Statutes. We all attended the same ethics training. In fact, not only did we attend the same ethics training, but Mr. Schwartz gave the training publicly in this very classroom. So the law is the law. We've had our policy, the policy. We've had the ethics training. And unfortunately, we have to police ourselves. This board has to police ourselves, because if this was the North Carolina General Assembly, there's actually a process involved where it would be reported. And then there's mechanisms that happen, but that doesn't apply to school boards. So the recourse is to report it to the law enforcement agencies that have jurisdiction. Well, there's two recourses. One is there's legal recourse, and two, there's a board policing itself, right? On the ethics side, it's absolutely imperative to retain the I don't want to say decorum, but the dignity of the board, that a board police its own ethics. And listening to the chair, it doesn't sound like this board's going to do this. Well, let's look at the legal side. Okay, the people that would have jurisdiction over this are the Moore County School Police. And unfortunately, a police agency cannot investigate themselves. So again, we're in this little catch-22 where the law enforcement agency that has jurisdiction can't take jurisdiction because they can't investigate themselves. And then it appears that we have a board that's not going to enforce their own ethics policy. The motivation, look, Ms. Caldwell and Ms. Davis said they didn't attend. Okay, I'll take them at their word, until a competent third party, looks into this, which I'm sure they will. But Mr. Levy hasn't said whether he used his tickets or not, and that's a very important point. So a board that's not going to police itself or enforce its own ethics, that's not good, and that's not the expectations that the public has. Well, but let's talk about that. I'd be more than happy to address the allegations that these people made. We could go through that page by page right now, because it's 100% not correct. I would be more than happy to address that. But that's not what we're talking about today. What we're talking about today is a pretty clear ethics violation of both our policy and, our policy is refers to the general statute. I don't know. That's why I bring it up and we're having a discussion. Chair, what do you recommend? You seem to think that this is baseless.
Well, you've said something correct. I think it's totally baseless. But then again, you can do what you wish to do, Mr. Hensley. I personally think that rather than worry about how much beer I sold at the U.S. Open, or how much money I made for North
Mr.
Moore.
Levy, I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about you. I'm not concerned about you selling beer, and I'm not concerned about your misdirect. I'm sorry, and I'm not concerned about. I didn't bring that up. I'm concerned about the $3,000 to $4,000 worth of tickets that you got after Miss Davis asked in closed session, can we get tickets? I believe it was Miss Davis. Memory serves me correctly.
So I had to pay $3,000 to $4,000 to sell beer?
No, that's the point. You didn't pay. You got $3,000 to $4,000 worth of tickets.
I went to sell beer and make money for North Moore and for Father Capodanno High School. He's right. Don't worry about whether Mr. Levy is selling beer. Worry about Nick Fuentes.
Mr. Levy, I'm not concerned about you selling beer. Mr. Levy, I'm concerned about board members taking $3,000 to $4,000 worth of tickets from an organization that we negotiated a contract with, and it's especially bad because it was asked during the negotiations, can we get tickets? Can we get free tickets? That's what I'm concerned about. I'm not concerned about anything else. I'm not concerned about what the people up here said earlier today. I'm not concerned about you selling beer. I'm concerned about board members getting $3,000 to $4,000 worth of free stuff from an organization that we have a contract with. And you can redirect all you want, but that's the ethics complaint that I am making. And you, the chair, keep dismissing that as, oh, well, I was just there, I just sold beer. That's not the issue. The issue is taking $3,000 to $4,000 worth of tickets from an organization that we did business with, a contract with, that's in direct violation of both Moore County Policy 2121, and it appears to be in violation of North Carolina General Statute 14234. That's where I'm here, is I'm here to make a public ethics complaint.
Well, you have made it. Is there anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. So, is there any, okay, what else do we have? Do we have anything else coming before the board? Okay. Board comments. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to quickly thank our staff again and our team that was coordinated and led by Will Herring that coordinated the facilitation of the debate, the state superintendent debate at Pinecrest High School last evening. Our team's job was to handle the facility side and the logistics side. The public school forum, of course, sponsored the debate and did all the advertising, the ticketing, and communication with the candidates. But just want to again thank Will Herring. Want to thank the Pinecrest High School staff, our Moore County Schools Police Department, our academics and student support services team who graciously volunteered, and certainly just want to thank them and appreciate the time and effort that they put in coordinating that. And it was a very well-run event, so I really appreciate that. Also, just as a quick reminder to the board of our special call work session meetings next week on the Tuesday, October 22nd, and Wednesday, October 23rd, for the purpose of our principals presenting and highlights of our school improvement plans that they and their teams have developed, and we look forward to sharing that with you. Our meeting on the 22nd will start at 8:30 and the 23rd at 9 a.m. So that's all the comments I have tonight. Appreciate the board's engagement and work.
Okay. Mr. Hensley.
I have nothing, thank you.
Ms. Bruno.
I want to back up what our superintendent said about last night's debate. I thought that was a terrific thing. I think that it made our school look great. I love the debate. I thought it was wonderful. Thank you for everybody who worked at it, who volunteered. I thought that they did an absolute super job. I was very, very proud last night to be on the board of Moore County Schools. I thought it was a super job. I also want to say that our teams are doing great, and I follow them in the paper, and I'm very proud of them, and just thank you to everybody.
Okay. Ms. Caldwell.
So mine's going to be a personal plug because I have mom guilt right now. My daughter's playing orchestra, her very first orchestra concert at Union Pines High School. And I'm missing it to be here tonight, but I just hopefully she did a great job because I know she was a little bit nervous. But anyhow, that's my mom guilt, so I just wanted to congratulate her on her first concert.
I'd like to add my compliments to the great job done last night for that debate. I'd like to also commend our chair for having initiated actions to actually have that thing take place. I think it was a great service to Moore County and to North Carolina in general. Thank you.
Mr. Holmes.
I'm not going to say anything.
Okay. Dr. Locklear. Okay.
You can't skip me 2 times in a row.
No, I'm not going to skip you 2 times in a row. I wanted to.
I'm just going to say that it is a great honor and privilege for me to be here, and I am proud of everything that I have done. It might not be much, but I'm proud of it, and I love Moore County Schools and everybody I get to work with.
Okay. Let me just say once again on that debate, we had 700 people at that debate. One of the things that was great about it was that we had both the Democrats and the Republicans in one room, and they were, in fact, talking civilly to each other, or mostly civilly to each other. And one of the things that that debate can teach our students is that we can have civil discussion and civil discourse. That I wanted to thank the Public School Forum and the Schwartz Law Firm also for helping out in that debate. And I know that there were a lot of misgivings initially about it, but it was really, I think, a service to the community. And I'm very, very thankful for the privilege of having been able to present it. With that, is there a motion to adjourn? Okay. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? We're adjourned.